There's AMG 63s and then there's AMG 36s. What we're looking at today is a pre-merger. This is a legit AMG 36 G-Wagon short wheelbase from Japan. This thing is cool. It's a 1997 model, still has all the placards, all the numberings, everything's in Japanese. It is super low miles, and what a treat this is. I want to take the opportunity to show this to you guys because I don't see these very often. We do have some short wheelbases, we have some G500s, but I gotta admit, this G36 rips. It is fun to drive, it's peppy, it's zippy, and it'll give a G500 a run for its money. Plus, you get the cool heritage of having a legit pre-merger AMG G-Wagon. This thing is amazing. The paint on this, it's amazing. It's 10 out of 10. Flawless all the way around. It's been kept inside. It's been in a gentleman's collection for numerous years, and he's decided it's time to find a new home for this. I gotta admit, it's cool to look at, and it's a neat one to drive. It's gonna make somebody very happy to be the next owner and caretaker of this vehicle. It really needs nothing. I wouldn't change a thing on it. It is up to date, it is serviced, it's ready to go, and it has this gorgeous blue metallic paint that is perfect. Well, as you can see here, it's 38 degrees Celsius, which roughly translates into 176 degrees Fahrenheit. And the AC works really well in this truck. Believe it or not, it is hot. Water is boiling on the pavement, and Blake melts on anything outside of the air conditioning. And here we are inside this 1997 AMG 36 short wheelbase G-Wagon, and it's cool in here, it's awesome. The other thing that's interesting about this is I've driven a lot of 320 G-Wagons and very few 36s. I think I've had about 3 AMG 36s through the shop, and I'm very impressed with the power output of this. It is very comparable to a G500 short wheelbase. It's super peppy, it scoots, a lot of power, and it goes down the road really nicely. We're going about 60 miles an hour or 100 kilometers an hour for you metric folks. And it is effortless, it's easy, I love it. This is such a cool little truck. The paint on this truck is a 10 out of 10. The interior is immaculate. It still has all the original Japanese placards and writing throughout. So it is a legit AMG pre-merger Mercedes G-Wagon that I am driving, and this thing is offered up for sale, and this is a time capsule, a true piece of history that needs nothing. This is a joy to drive. So those of you may know by now that I drive a lot of different G-Wagons. I've driven them all, ranging from 460s to 461s to early 463s to 463s of late to 463As. This is what we call the early 463 interior. And I've touched on this a couple times in the past, but for those of you wondering, hey, this truck is a 463, but the interior looks a little different. This is what the interior looks like when you get a truck that's from 1990 all the way through 2001, i.e. pre-MB USA. It's a little bit different in that you don't have the command up here. It's all analog, nothing's digital, which is kind of cool. Everything that looks like wood is wood. Everything that is plastic, and you know, it's a neat place to be. It's very rich, a lot of leather. The other thing that's interesting, and everyone comments on this, is it feels physically wider because the door cards aren't very thick. They're very thin. Typically, we're used to all of our panels or buttons being on the door, whereas on this truck, they're all in the center. Because of that, it pushes the seats out a little bit. It feels wider. It's much more spacious. It's an easy place to be. So if you're looking for something that's a little wider, more relaxed, more rich, and a little bit more regal, this is a great platform to be in time frame wise, because you have tactile buttons, you have space, you have all the leather and wood, and you don't have all the fuss and electronic stuff that we're used to in today's modern trucks. And as we all know, there's no cure for electronic aids. This truck does not have it. All right, so we're gonna get a little bit of a history lesson here. In the 90s, there is this company called AMG. They were not yet associated with Mercedes, they were their own company. They were also a tuning house that happened to have the love of tuning Mercedes, but they were also just a company. And in the 90s, Mercedes did not actually bring the G-Wagon to Japan. Enter AMG. So AMG being a company, and they realized there was a market for these trucks in Japan, and they wanted to take advantage of it. So they were the sole importer of G-Wagons into Japan in the 90s. Now they had a couple special variants. They would import the trucks under the AMG brand, so you would have an AMG import that wasn't an actual AMG G-Wagon. Then AMG got smart, and then they decided, well, let's modify these. Let's put our tuning knowledge into the G-Wagon. So they basically took their knowledge and pumped up the motors on this. This is was a G320, and now it's a G36 after AMG got their hands on it in the 90s. They increased the displacement on the motor, thereby increasing its horsepower and making it much more fun to drive. It also got their signature exhaust with their squared off exhaust tips that come out on the other side of the truck. But you're also going to notice it's got the AMG monoblock wheels. This was the staple, the ones to have in the 90s. And you could only get them on AMGs unless you happen to find someone in the off market that had them. You get the badging, you get all the usual stuff. And the other key thing that differentiates a 90s pre-merger AMG from the non-AMG is the squiggles. Every single one of them had this funky little 90s paint squiggle that went across the spare tire carrier and the side of the truck that said, hey, we're in the 90s. We're not looking forward to the 2000s yet, and we're done with the 80s, so bring on the squiggles. So here it is. This is a really clean example. I've had about 3 of these through my shop that are legit AMG 36s, and this is by far the cleanest and nicest example I've had. The kicker is I've also had one in here that was 380,000 miles on the clock as well. Thing ran great. This is an M104 engine. It's a straight 6, 3.6 liter inline 6, and it runs out great. It is smooth as glass and is a pure joy to drive. The inside of these trucks are highly analog. They're very cool. This is all original, unmodified, I might add. I know we're in the business of changing and modifying and making everything better, but this is one of those examples we're not going to mess with it. This is as it was in Japan. To include, all the stickers in here are still in Japanese. We're not changing a single thing on this. Now, a couple things that have been changed by the owner is they have a continental stereo in this. Not a big deal, just gives you Bluetooth connectivity. You have the secondary ashtray, so if you fill up your first ashtray, your passenger can have their own. They thought of everything here. Everyone smokes in Japan. The seats are original. The leather feels really good. A little bit of conditioning will bring this up to speed. The carpets are in decent shape. Overall, this is a really clean and nice example. It's well preserved. It's been kept inside in a storage, and it shows. I mean, everything's in great shape on this, and I really like it. Somebody is going to be thrilled to get this truck in their garage and start enjoying it. All right, so under the hood of this, M104 3.6 liter AMG. It's an inline 6. These motors run forever. They run like glass. They're amazing. Really like these things. Other things you can tell if it's a legit AMG is you actually have the AMG intake. On the non-AMG models, this is flattened out and it looks like a miserable piece of celery. This actually has some volume to it. It can actually breathe some air. We only saw this on the AMG model, so this is a legit one. Also, you get this cool little engine cover. And if you notice, you got all the cool stickers under the hood that say, hey, this is an AMG, and it came from Japan. All right, so we're gonna answer the question here. Why is AMG 36 different from Brabus 36? There's a couple subtle things. Basically, Brabus and AMG in the 90s were competitors. Neither one of them was in bed with Mercedes. This is pre-merger AMG, by the way. This is pre-1999. This is where AMG built their own motors. This is a 3.6 liter AMG motor that was built by them, and it basically had increased displacement, different engine tuning, had a different intake system. It breathed very, very nicely, super snappy. The Brabus motor was a little bit different. They used a different configuration for bore and stroke, a little bit different tuning. They utilized the factory intake system, but this truck was actually imported by Europa way back in the day, so it's not an actual Japanese spec. This is an import Europa spec. So this is a titled US truck. So different ways to get there. Both are 3.6 liters, both have approximately similar horsepower and drive very, very well. Just whatever your flavor is at the time, whether you want to go Brabus or AMG. Now, the similarities between these two trucks, both of these started life in Japan. That's what's interesting here. AMG was the sole importer of G-Wagons to Japan during the 90s. And you could either get a 320 or you can get a 36. This is an example of a 36, which is actually tuned and built by AMG back in the 90s. This is actually an AMG 320. It's basically a stock unmolested truck that just happened to be imported under the AMG name. If you look closely in the badges under the hood and everything, you'll still see the Japanese lettering, you'll see the AMG nomenclature, but it's pretty cool to understand how these came to be through all the different markets in the world, and that's where the similarity of these two trucks really are. So this is the example that I'm talking about. Even though the VIN tag says AMG and it has all the numbers on there, that just means that AMG was the importer of record for this truck into Japan at the time. It wasn't modified by AMG, but they were the importer of it, whereas the other truck was actually modified by AMG back in the day. Just a fun fact, a tidbit of information for you.